Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that was the craziest chatterbait bite I've got in a long time. Lord almighty. That was so cool. And it's a tank. I mean, not like a tank, but pretty good one. Ate it right on the surface. Almost had to figure eight it, but didn't quite have to. Golly, he choked it in that split second. It's crazy how deep a fish can get that. There we go. Gorgeous fish on the 3/4 ounce. All right, everybody. Well, that was a good way to start this video, I guess. So welcome back to the channel. Today, we're out on this beautiful flat that has a lot of grass on it. And the fish are definitely out here, as you can see, but they're a little bit deeper. And I still want to fish a chatterbait because I love fishing a chatterbait. But one of the chatterbaits that is often forgotten, and it's more of a size than an actual chatterbait, you know, is the 3/4 and 1.25 ounce sizes in the jackhammer. I think that that's just overall two weights that don't get used all that often. You know, once you get out into that like 8+ depth zone, people start relying on different techniques. You know, they start going to crankbaits that dive pretty deep, or they start going to bottom bouncing techniques, or whatever that may look like. But a big heavy chatterbait like the 3/4 ounce and the 1.25 ounce in the jackhammer lineup are super good. So we're gonna fish a little bit with it today and see what else we can catch with it. Just so you know, the links are gonna be in the description below. The one problem with the heavier sizes is they don't come in enough colors. This is the green pumpkin shad color, which I think is a really good all-around choice. I feel like it gets fish, you know, that are feeding on bluegill and shad. But yeah, we're getting this bait down a little bit deeper. I mean, that fish hit on the surface, so it really didn't matter. But most of the fish I'm seeing are kind of in that, you know, 6, 7, 8 foot zone. There he is. Good fish. Oh my gosh, this is great. This is great. Whoa, come off. That was awesome. So one thing I'm trying to do is really create an erratic action to it. I've seen a couple groups of them come up and, you know, on the live scope, and they're following it, but they're not really getting it. There he is. That was super cool. That was super cool. I looked down, saw him following it, and just gave it a little pop to give it a different action. And he committed to it after that pop. All right, so one thing that I'm noticing, you know, watching these fish on forward facing, which is one of the benefits of, you know, live scope, is being able to see fish's reaction in real time to your bait. And I'm noticing that, you know, the only ones that are committing are the ones that are really, you know, they're following it for a long period of time. Maybe I give it a different action, pop the rod tip or something like that. So it tells me that just at a basic level, the color isn't right. So what I want to do, you can see here with the green pumpkin shad, we got a colored, you know, green pumpkin blade. That's too dull. You know, it's a bright sunny day. So I really think that something bright and shiny is going to be the deal. So again, we're kind of limited on you know, our shad patterns and the heavier chatterbaits. Really, you just have pearl and spot remover, but I'm gonna switch over to spot remover real quick, which is this one. This is the 1.25 ounce. I want to still stick with the 3/4 ounce just for hooking percentage, you know, concerns. So let's go ahead and switch to that. Another thing I'm going to do is go from the diesel minnows that I had on, which has a boot style swim bait tail. Creates a lot more action, but it has too much drag. And I'm switching over to the chatter shad, but that's going to allow me to get a little bit deeper, maintain a little bit deeper depth range, and while still being able to reel it really fast. All right, right there. I think that's going to make a huge difference. That shine, that flash is one of the greatest tools that an angler has in their toolbox on a sunny day. There he is. Yeah, I think that flash is going to make a huge difference in the amount of fish that commit, because I just had 3 bites on that cast. All right, so let's talk about the setup, the tackle for a heavy, you know, chatterbait, the jackhammer. Of course, we got the jackhammer, you know, 3/4 or 1 1/4, depending on how deep you're trying to get it, that sort of stuff. And then the trailers that I like, I've got a chatter shad on the back of it right now. I also use the razor shads from Z-Man. I also use the diesel minnows. There's a lot of different Elastec baits that I use, but I do like using Elastec baits. Yes, I'm sponsored by Z-Man. That is no secret. So obviously I've got a little bit of bias, but it's for good reason. This material is super durable, and it is really lifelike in the water. It's soft, it has a ton of action, and but just the durability factor. I mean, I could fish this trailer all day long and catch, you know, 75 fish on it. You know, there's been reports of fish being caught on, you know, 100 fish being caught on one Elastec bait. So it, to me, there's no better material than Elastec for a trailer especially. So that's the bait. The line that I like to use, you know, is going to be generally just Seaguar Red Label. You know, not a very expensive fluorocarbon, but I do like to use fluorocarbon. I do try to match the line diameter, so the pound test rating is, you know, the thing we most pay attention to. I like to match that to the depth I'm trying to get to. So if I'm trying to get the 3/4 ounce down to like 10 foot of water, I need to go down to 12 or 15 pound test. If I'm just trying to, you know, fish a bait super fast in a moderate depth, then I might go to 20. But usually I'm using 15 pound test for this, because that's what I'm trying to do, is get down a little bit deeper. I like to use a 7.2 to 1 gear ratio reel, or something in that range. I'm not telling you have to be right on the nose 7.2. Could be 7.6, 7.5, 7.1 to 1. I don't, you know, just something in that middle gear ratio range. And then as far as the rod that I like to use with these bigger chatterbaits, I like to use the 7.6 medium heavy Versus series rod from Fitzgerald. That is a rod that I can wing this bait a long distance, and I've got a ton of leverage to just kind of lean into those fish and get that slack out of the line, which is really super important on a long cast. So that is the setup that I'm using today and usually use. There he is. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, he's giant. All right, there we go. There we go. Now we're making some progress here. These fish are eating on the surface. One of the things I love about these bigger chatterbaits is you can wing them a mile if they start schooling way ahead of you. Oh, there we go. Can't do that with the 1/2 ounce or the 3/8 or any other size. Oh, came off. All right. This has been fun, man. I think I'm gonna end up switching to something else real quick. Maybe throw like a jig head minnow on them or something. But anyways, guys, just wanted to do that real quick video. I really think it's important not to forget about these heavier sizes. You know, a chatterbait in a lot of lakes, you know, for a lot of fish, is something they haven't seen in the deeper water. And having the ability to get down there and maintain a pretty good clip as far as your retrieve, big asset for getting some bites in deeper water, especially when you got grass in the deeper water. So anyways, guys, got a link in the description below for my favorite trailers and these chatterbaits, the jackhammers, for Tackle Warehouse, so check those out. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.